My sister reproached my husband for PDA, all because she can't accept that I'm queer. She uses Reddit. I don't, but I figured she'd listen if the advice I get is from this platform. We were having lunch on Sunday at my parents' house like usual. We had been there for a couple of hours, had lunch, and I was busy getting attacked by my nephews when I noticed her pulling him aside. When we all sat down in the living room afterwards, I reached for his hand out of habit, and he pulled away. I thought I did something to piss him off, but he didn't look pissed off and just shook his head, which is a sign we'll talk later. And by the way, this comes from you, Throwaway 2000R, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to ROK Storytime subreddit. So I waited until we got home and asked him about it, and he said that my sister had pulled him aside and told him it's inappropriate for us to PDA in front of her children.
I freaking called it.
I racked my brain for the PDA she was talking about, and the physical interactions I had with him were us holding hands, me playing with his band mindlessly while chatting with my father and him guiding my hand to a spot below his ear that was itching. So I wrapped my arm around him and started running my fingers over it to not outright scratch and irritate it. That's it. My fiancé argued back that we have never been inappropriate or not aware of our surroundings and company. She tried convincing him otherwise because she knew going to him was easier than dealing with me because I would rip her a new one if she brought it up again. She was never like this before. She was the first one I came out to and the first one that supported our relationship up until her kid. She has 2 7 and 5. The 7 one asked us a question because his friend has 2 moms and how come we switched. It was completely innocent curiosity, and I told him that sometimes you don't choose love, love chooses you. I thought it was appropriate without going into the whole woman-men thing. He just nodded, and went on his way and never batted an eye again. His younger brother doesn't care either. After that question, she asked me to keep a PDA away from her kids, never made out or even pecked his lips in front of the kids, just on his temple or knuckles. This is getting long, but after he told me, I called her and gave her an earful.
Give her an earful.
Give her an earful of rebuke. I told her the kids don't give a single F about me holding his hand or giving him a hug in front of them. How is it any different from her interacting with her husband or our mother with our father? She said that it was different because 2 men is not the social norm.
Because you're a homophobe.
Okay, so I told her, F off. And stay the F out of my relationship.
Hell
and
yeah.
to never talk to my fiancé that way ever again. That's the rundown, but the call was long. I shouldn't have been so aggressive with my words, but we didn't need this crap from my own freaking family. I don't know what's gotten into her or how to reach her. Comments. Comment number 1. She's gonna be in for a rude awakening when their kids come home on 1st grade and tells them about how their friend and his boyfriend eat lunch together. Someone asked OP, what is her husband like? OP replied, he's a chill guy, comes over once a week after work to have a drink and play games with us, set me up with the jeweler that made my fiance's custom band, and as far as I know, wasn't aware of her first talk with me. Another reply, hopefully they fix the problem as she brings it up again, talk to your brother-in-law. Not in a snitch kind of way, but in a, hey sister, mentioned XYZ and we were really confused on what the problem is. We've been racking our brains ever since. Is there anything we've done to make you uncomfortable? That sets you as the reasonable solutions-oriented person and her as the weirdo, which is the truth of the matter. That lets him know what's happening without you escalating the drama. She might, who knows, and gives him a chance to shut it down since it sounds like he'd be less than thrilled at the potential for your sister's crap to ultimately taint his children. OP replied, I'm definitely sitting him down when I can, and I'm going to ask him straight up. I'm pissed enough not to care if it causes her problems. I think that he's the type of man who would talk to me face to face if he actually had an issue instead of hiding behind my sister. But who knows? There is an update.
We're going to get back to the story, but Sam, you have a copious amount of something.
What, John?
X's.
I have like 4 or 5 or 6.
I heard of 6 with a 0
All
behind
right,
it.
that 60 number, comes from somewhere else.
Where does that come from?
It comes from our OK Storytime membership.
Yeah, that's freaking right. We have 60 plus hours of exclusive live streams on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
It's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Join a club almost as exclusive as Sam's X is. Well, let's get back to the story.
All right. I wasn't planning on doing another post, but you all helped me to see things clearly in my first one, and I thought I could use some more advice. Between the holidays, work, and everything else, I didn't have much time to properly sit down with my sister or her husband, just check up on texts and calls until a couple of weeks ago. I figured I'd get my brother-in-law's perspective first, and he looked at me like I'd lost my mind when I asked him if he had issues with my relationship, and specifically us around kids. I believe him. He was genuinely surprised and told me straight up that he doesn't have have issues and has never asked my sister to speak to us. Then he asked me if this has anything to do with Liv, and it was my turn to be surprised.
Who's Liv?
I think we're about to find out.
Okay.
Background info.
What
My
is-
sexuality isn't defined mostly because I don't know what to call myself. I thought I was straight up until I met my fiance 5 years ago and spent
What?
2 of those years denying my feelings and keeping him strictly in the friend zone because I wasn't attracted to any guy other than him. I was the macho gym type. I met Liv during those 2 years. She's my sister's apprentice, and we started hanging out. We never defined it as a relationship, just fun and a distraction from my feelings. That said, she did come to a couple of family events, sister's invites, but we kept it casual. My brother-in-law didn't elaborate on his Liv comment, but he obviously heard it from my sister, so I went straight to the source to see what's going on. So my sister knew back then I was distracting myself, but apparently she thought Liv and I would pull through and become a couple. You were right, Sophia. We just kept it casual. She tried to get her into the family, and when we barely acted like acquaintances at family events, she gave up. By then, I had pulled my head out of my butthole, broke it off, and focused on making it up to my fiance. I'm not upset by her meddling, if I'm honest, because I have no one to blame but myself for those 2 years and what happened during them. What I'm upset about is that she stands by her words and is keeping her stance. Dang. She's like, I continue my rebuke. There's not much I could do about that, but I asked her why that had anything to do with Liv and how it somehow became a problem for her with my relationship. And she said that I was never affectionate with Liv in public / front of family. So why am I affectionate with
Because
him?
he didn't love Liv.
Yeah, he wasn't into Liv.
Yeah, he
It
didn't
was-
like Liv. The whole point was that he was into his current fiance.
Yeah, and now he was using Liv as a distraction.
Yeah.
She's like really holding on to this. She was like, but you weren't affectionate with Liv.
Girly, are we maybe denying our feelings for Liv? Are we maybe into Liv a little bit?
Explaining to her that I was never in love with Liv, just like she wasn't in love with me. It felt dumb, and I was talking to a stranger. We were never in a relationship, for Pete's sake. She replied that I didn't know crap, and maybe I don't, but I know the agreement Liv and I had, and regardless of everything, it's been 3 years. Last I checked, I'm engaged, and Liv is happy, focusing on her career. I was beyond frustrated and ended up leaving because we weren't getting anywhere. And we were just trudging up memory lane, comparing my friends with benefit with Liv to my relationship with my person, which was an F no from me.
Got you.
And if you want to say F yes, you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search OK Storytime. We'll see what OP's thoughts are in this update. I have no idea what to do. Cutting her off, like some suggested, is out of the question, not just because she's my sister, but also because it would mean cutting off my brother-in-law, whom I consider a good friend, and my nephews. Bringing our parents in to mediate like we're children again is just asking for it to snowball and changing aspects of our relationship just to cater her feels worse than going back in the closet, and that's something I would never even entertain. Any advice? Well, if you're asking for advice on Reddit, you're going to continue getting advice like those two options.
Sometimes, let's see what the comments say.
Comments.
I'm
Comment
hopeful.
number 1. Sounds like your sister is uncomfortable with you showing PDA. Sounds like she is comfortable. That is very clear, yes. Sounds like she's uncomfortable with you being in love with men since she's still upset you didn't end up with Liv. It's controlling and weird. And since you don't want to cut her out, talk to her and say that you want a relationship with her family. You'll do your best to not show PDA and respect to her as long as she shows respect to your relationship to your fiance. Best of luck. She seems like a difficult person, though.
I think that's the end of it.